This is an interesting question. It comes from Veronica. Michelle Obama seems to be part of Biden's team now and could be his vice presidential choice to get him the vote. What's not to say he will probably step down and she becomes president with her husband as the puppeteer? Team anticipated what he would do in this case.
I've heard of more bizarre scenarios. She obviously likes the public life. She's obviously very popular, particularly the Democratic Party. But I guess one practical observation I have here is that Joe Biden already has demonstrated huge appeal to the African American vote. So I know she's popular and I know she polls well, but I'm not sure he needs to do that with regard to his appeal. What he needs to do is what he's not doing and can't do with regard to where he is philosophically. The old liberal Joe wouldn't have said what he has recently said, which is he's interested in basically killing jobs in the Midwest. He's not interested in fracking. He's not interested in the natural gas revolution. Those blue-collar, ethnic Catholic Democrats who are voted for Barack Obama once or twice, but voted for Donald Trump last time, they don't want to hear that. They live in Ohio. They live in Pennsylvania. They live in Wisconsin. And to the extent that Joe Biden wants to campaign on that particular platform, that Green New Deal platform, he's going to cost himself a lot of votes. These are Democrats in Maryland, a lot of Democrats in Eastern Baltimore County, as we know, in Dundalk. Donald Trump is very popular. President Trump's popular in Eastern Baltimore County. So to the extent the Democratic Party wants to move so radical on environmental issues, that's their real problem. It's not the African-American vote. The African-American vote literally saved Joe Biden. So I'm not sure Michelle Obama really adds a whole lot to that, although she is popular and she polls very well.
I think Trump is really appealing to a lot of black voters out there, whether they're Democrats or independents or even Republicans.
Well, I would say yes and no. I think that he has through his record, through what he's done, through his performance, he deserves a higher percentage of the black vote. And he may get it, but we have to understand, we have to be realistic. When we talk about he'll get it, we're talking about going from 8 to 12. We're talking about going from 8 to 14. We're not talking about huge numbers here. Now, I will say this, to the extent he can pull that off, a lot of those black votes determine the winner in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan. Last election, we tend to forget this. Hillary Clinton's president, but for average black turnout. If there was large black turnout in those states last time, she wins. She wins. But the African-American vote tended to stay home. They weren't excited about her. So I think two things can happen. The demonization campaign the Democrats will run, trying to use the black vote against President Trump, that will be less successful. And to the extent he can add, for instance, 5 percentage points, that would be huge, particularly in those Midwestern, formerly blue wall states.
Governor Ehrlich, you won the Democratic state. Hadn't been done as a Republican and as governor, hadn't been done in 40 years. And you also just recently wrote the book, You Didn't See That Coming, which really talks about what happened with Donald Trump. What can the Republican women do in order to support the candidate? You mentioned Pennsylvania. Sometimes I wonder, is it even worth it for us to put our efforts into Maryland, or should we just be making calls in Pennsylvania? What can the candidates do that are running in these Democratic states? And again, what can we do to support them?
Well, we don't give up on Maryland with regard to local and state races, obviously. We have no Republican governor. We've captured suburban seats around the state. So particularly in Baltimore County, where we've had our ups and downs, we have a real role to play in Baltimore County. The presidential level, is Maryland going to be competitive? Most likely not. So we can do both. We can take care of the homeland here, and we can help Southern Pennsylvania. You know, my old joke used to be, I'm going to go campaign for governor today in Maryland, but I'm going to go to Southern Pennsylvania because I want to talk to a lot of Marylanders. A lot of Maryland. Shrewsbury is the city that Maryland tax policy built. Ellen Zeller isn't hurt anybody. The traffic on 83 south in the morning is an indictment of Maryland tax policy. These are Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County teachers and police and nurses. They live in Pennsylvania because of taxes. So we have a role to play here. And by the way, let me be more micro here. I don't know what the black population of Baltimore County is, but it's growing. And it's been growing for many years. Middle-class African Americans, Democrats, but a lot of those folks, I think, are going to be willing to take another look at President Trump, given his record. But not just on the economy, by the way, but his engagement with HBCUs and criminal justice reform. And I love what the president said last time, and I wish he would actually show up in more cities. He said, we can do worse. We can do worse than this. Show up in Baltimore. Show up in Baltimore. This is a low point. We can do things here. So I think the president is best when he engages. He should engage the African American community. Part of this community is up for grabs, no doubt about it, despite Joe Biden being on the ticket. And again, to the extent it makes even modest gains here in those critical Midwestern states, it'll be well worth it. And he has quite, by the way, it's no longer a promise campaign. It's, this is what I have done. This is what I have accomplished.
On the Conowingo Dam.
Yeah, it's been an old issue. It's been pollution. It's been an issue when I was governor. It's been an issue years prior to that. It's been an issue for decades. I'll make a larger point here because the president likes to talk about infrastructure. And the Democrats see infrastructure in their Keynesian way. It's government jobs and we're going to give the economy a shot and all that. Well, prior to this, prior to when things were normal, sometimes infrastructure needs to get done just because it's infrastructure. It's how to get to work. It's how to get the Little League game. The Bay Bridge, you have to do it. The Harbor Tunnel has to operate. The Holland Tunnel in New York, it has to operate. Right? It has to be safe. So sometimes infrastructure is just what government has to do and should do. Karen, getting back to your Chesapeake Bay Restoration Act, some people on our side thought it was controversial when we passed it. It's been amazingly successful. I don't know how many times over the years since I was governor, farmers, just people have come up to me and said, the water system here, the cover crops work. We brought technology to the sewage treatment plants. We're now state of the art. And as a result, the fisheries are healthier. It's not as though it's perfect, but it's really something, it's a legacy thing that we accomplished. I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of our success there.
You know him somewhat personally.
Yes.
Do you think that he is a racist, a xenophobic, and a homophobic? And could you speak of his character?
Well, you left something out, the anti-Semite, which is hilarious. His son-in-law is Jewish.
Exactly, and his daughter converted to Judaism.
Exactly. So can we take care of that one at least? We negotiated with him to bring his beauty contest to the mechanic. We had numerous dinners with him. We got to know him over the years. He's a character. Some people are put off by the character, by his personality. But as I said, in this last book, bet you didn't see that one coming, was really devoted to analyzing him and his appeal. Not just his platform, but his appeal. For instance, people of faith voted for him in overwhelming numbers. And the left can't figure that out. Oh my God, the guy's been married a number of times, and the comments and sometimes the language. How did this happen? But the bottom line to politics, the bottom line to politicians, the bottom line to why we have a club and why we do bumper stickers and why we have fundraisers and why Ellen Sauerbrey and Ehrlich and some of the others run is policy. It's what we're going to do. What do we stand for? How do we accomplish this aim? What do we believe? How do we see America? But what they see is what he's done. He should win 50 states. A wildly successful president. I'm a big Reagan fan, but I'll put Donald Trump with Ronald Reagan any day, and I'm a big Reagan fan. Now, again, was Ronald Reagan the nice guy, the all-nice guy? He was. We loved him for it. This is a different character. This is Queens. You got a Queens developer president, celebrity host. President Reagan didn't have Twitter. He had to go around. He had to go around the press in his gentle way. The Queens developer hits him in the face. Immediately, sometimes insults them, sometimes goes over the line. And by the way, that's off-putting for some people. I get that. I get it. Believe me. But he is not going to change. Probably the most asked question to me as I run around the country and do book signings and speeches is people will come up to me and they'll say, "Can you tell him?" And I'll say, "Stop. Stop. No. Nobody can. He is what he is. In the 70s, this is his personality. He's Queens. He can be bombastic. He'll cross the line sometimes. He may use words you don't appreciate coming out of the mouth of a president. But that's what you got. But you do have someone that's that transparent. And by the way, that's successful.
Well, and the way that I think they were alike is Reagan went around the country stopping in manufacturing plants. He was working for GE, and he got to know all of the people in the country and in different parts of the country. Trump has gone to all of, probably most of his building sites, and he has talked to the people who works on those sites and sold to the people who own the companies that he's contracted with.
The best, Dave, your point's well taken. The best description I've seen, and this is not mine, but he has a Wharton degree. I mean, he's a pretty smart guy, but he is much more comfortable on the 33rd floor of a high rise in Queens than he is in a boardroom surrounded by really smart people. He prefers to be on the 33rd floor with the steelworkers. And again, despite the fact of his background, his wealth, his degrees, that was a little weird for people to understand, but it's the truth. And knowing him as we do, and we don't, we're not great, huge, close friends, but we've known him for years. We see that he's very comfortable with people, and he's a really good painter. As you've seen, the attendees, the attendance at these rallies around the country is amazing. We haven't
seen yeah.
And I will, and Karen, thank you for plugging my book. But I bet you didn't see that one coming to the title of the book, and I wrote it after the campaign, and it's why I continue to do events around the country. People are so interested in the book because they're so interested in this president and his MO, how different he is. Again, what did he say yesterday? Free Michigan, free Virginia. I mean, you don't see. I forgot what word he used, but something was wrong. Free. But the point is, he takes people, and now sometimes he'll get involved in these minor skirmishes with Hollywood types, and it's frustrating. But again, you get the good with the bad. You get the whole 9 yards with him, and from his point of view, been pretty successful.
Governor Ehrlich, he is what amazes me about it really frustrates me now when you do any type of research, Google, it's all left news. You have to go 5 pages to find something. People complain about Trump doing Twitter. But that's the way he's got his message out. That's how he won the election.
But here's the other thing, and here's what Reagan did not do, and here's what the books tell you not to do, and here's what every expert and pundit in Washington tells you not to do. They always tell you to win over the media. They always tell you to placate the media. And I'm not sure that message ever got across to this guy, but if it did, he rejected it. I've
been told by Republican congressmen.
He's able to get back quickly in their face, and they're not used to that. It's another reason they become so frustrated. They dislike him so much. They dislike him for who he is. They dislike him for switching parties. They dislike him for being a conservative. They dislike him for being a Republican. But they really dislike him because he gets back in their face, and they're not used to it.
Would you like to say anything else, Bob, in particular?
Really encourage the women here to continue to organize, to expand. I used to say, use the term, get dangerous, become dangerous to the opposition. As far as the Ehrlichs, we have very, very fond memories of Maryland politics. Obviously, our focus these days is at the federal level and getting this president reelected, and we'll see what happens in the future. But we're still in Maryland. We're still Marylanders. We love Maryland, and we certainly love a lot of the people that have been part of this particular group, women's group in Baltimore County for many years. So thank you all. Love for y'all. If y'all want to follow me, again, it's on Twitter at Bob_Ehrlich. You can always follow me on Facebook as well, like it. And I'll follow you Western Journal through my columns as well.
Bob, it's been a pleasure. It's been nice having you back in Baltimore County again.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.